This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
Hello and welcome to Headlines Now on Ndtv-Hindu. I'm Ramanathan, bringing you the big stories of the day. So joining me on the show live are many people, first among them Shabir Ahmed, our reporter, giving us the first and exclusive details on the twist in the 23-day-long NLC strike. Natasha Doraiswamy is here to join us in celebrating yet another milestone of the Master Blaster Sachin Tendulkar. And today, being World Mental Health Day, Dr. Abhilasha, psychologist and president of the Arudal Charitable Trust, joins us on that. And later, Shweta Narayan, environmental activist, will join us for more on the ground report on the alarming pollution levels at the Pala. So we have a loaded bulletin today. Let's start with the headlines. The Neyveli saga refuses to die down, but a twist in the tale. One of the most influential unions pulls out of the 3-week-long strike. Karunanidhi puts up a brave face and gives a thumbs up for the DMK Congress alliance, even as Sonia Gandhi calls for political independence of the state Congress. Activists demand compensation and remediation for the farmers at Vaniambadi after NDTV-Hindu's ground report on the pollution at Pala Riverbed.
Restoring the environment to what it was before and limiting the pollution.
More than 1,000 Foxconn employees take to the streets demanding the release of their colleagues, allege the police are hand in glove with the management. World Mental Health Day, experts say mental illness is becoming way too common and awareness is the key.
Physical health can affect the mental health of the individual, and the mental health can affect the physical health also.
It's the Lights Out campaign tonight. Join the green cause and switch off everything electrical for 10 minutes at 10 tonight. Let's take a quick look at the stories making national headlines. The BCCI terminates the contracts of Kings 11 Punjab and Rajasthan Royals ahead of IPL 4. Kochi let off after being served a 10-day notice. The Karnataka governor writes to the speaker, advises against disqualifying any MLA before the floor test on Monday.
We have full confidence that tomorrow's confidence vote will be defeated.
India's gold tally keeps rising. 28 now. Shooters, archers bringing in the medals. Another record for Sachin Tendulkar. The Master Blaster goes past 14,000 test runs in the Bangalore test. A top story at 8 tonight. In an all-new twist to the NLC saga, contract workers belonging to the influential DMK union today decided to pull out of the strike. For 23 days now, 13,000 contract workers have been demanding parity with the permanent workers' permanency in their job and medical and housing facilities. But the big question now is, how will this union's withdrawal affect this long strike? And to help us answer that question, we have with us now our reporter Shabir Ahmed joining us live. Shabir, we are all tired of this strike now. It's been on for more than 3 weeks now, 10 meetings, and now one union, a very influential one, backing out. Are we seeing the end of the strike, or at least signs of it weakening?
Well, Ram, it doesn't look like that. In fact, from now on, what other unions have been telling us is that the strike will aggravate and it will intensify. That is what there is anger now onto the streets of Neyveli, because the union, which is backed by the ruling DMK, has pulled out of the strike, and they have signed an agreement with the NLC management, and that too the other unions complain, and they do tell us that they have signed for a meager amount that is not completely acceptable for the other unions, and other unions are now discussing to take forward their agitation, and it will intensify. Tomorrow they have a rally and a public meeting at Neyveli, and also now what the reports we are getting from Neyveli is that there are some 1,000-2,000 workers right now protesting in front of the LPF, which is backed by the ruling DMK. In fact, sources do tell us that the DMK union has pulled out of this strike because of political reasons.
Right, Shabir, thank you for giving us that update on that story. Clearly, that the Neyveli saga will continue. We'll be following that very closely. Moving on to a special report from Vaniambadi along the Palar. It's one of North Tamil Nadu's main sources of water. And now, It is the victim of monetary greed and environmental ignorance. After illegal sand miners wreaked havoc on the riverbed with extensive quarrying, it's the leather industries in Maniambadi which have contributed to irreversible pollution, with public health, agricultural land and ecology around the Pala being murdered by leather makers. This is an Ndtv-Hindu exclusive. What was once a lifeline for the region is now this, a dirty water stream with toxic sludge and chemicals flowing out of leather tanneries like these in Maniambadi, destroying sections of the Pala riverbed and the health and livelihood of the local farmers.
உடல் பூரா வெறும் நமைச்சலுங்க. டாக்டர் கிட்ட போனால் எந்த ட்ரீட்மெண்ட்டும் இதுக்கு ஒன்றும் பணம் செய்ய முடியாதுங்க. இது இந்த என்விரான்மெண்ட் அந்த தோல் ஷாப் கழிவு நீரால் தான் இந்த பகுதியை கெட்டு போச்சுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அவங்களுக்கு தெரிஞ்ச மாத்திரை இதை எழுதி கொடுக்குறாங்க.
That soil from Maniambadi downwards is not suited for agricultural operations anymore.
A 1996 Supreme Court ruling bans tanneries from letting polluted water into the river except when the residue is treated through reverse osmosis. In other words, water purification. There are about 50 to 60 leather tanneries in this area behind me. In spite of a Supreme Court order asking these factories not to discharge polluted water into the Pala river, and in spite of reverse osmosis plants existing in this area, a Tamil Nadu Agriculture University report clearly states that this discharge violates all pollution control norms. Ndtv-Hindu also has access to latest lab results which have shown alarming levels of chemicals and toxic waste in the water. For instance, some water pollutants are 60 times more than what is permissible by the Pollution Control Board. As for the reverse osmosis plants, they exist, yes, but RTI applications reveal very few are operational, and those too not doing good enough.
இந்த தண்ணியால் எங்கள் விவசாய நிலம் எல்லாம் பாதிக்கப்பட்டுச்சு. இந்த தொடர்ந்து அந்த தோல் தொழிற்சாலைகள் இதோ செய்கிறோம், ஆர்ஓ சிஸ்டம் போட்டு இருக்கிறோம், இந்த மாதம் கடைசி 30ஆம் தேதிக்குள்ளே நாங்கள் மாற்றிடுவோம், அந்த மாதத்தில் மாற்றிடுவோம்னு சொல்லிட்டு தொடர்ந்து 7-8 வருஷமாக சொல்லிட்டு வராங்க. நான் பல்வேறு முறை மாவட்ட நிர்வாகத்துக்கிட்ட மனு கொடுத்து நாங்கள் போராடினா கூட இன்னைக்கு வரைக்கும் நடக்கலை.
Much damage is done already, but having struggled for more than a decade against these tanneries, local activists are not losing hope. With camera person Lucas, Ramanathan for Ndtv-Hindu. So joining me on Headlines now for more on that is environmental activist Shweta Narayan. She has been fighting against industrial disasters in the state for a long time now. Shweta, we know it is the failure of the entire system, what we are seeing today there beside the Pala. But I want to ask you, whose failure is this primarily? Why is it that the Supreme Court order has not been implemented even after 14 years? Who should we point fingers at?
Well, Ram, see, a couple of things over here. One of the reasons why the Supreme Court order has not been implemented is because there has been a systematic failure in different kind of authorities that were supposed to be implementing this order. And one of the key problem is the Loss of Ecology Authority, which was set up by the Supreme Court as a fast-track mechanism to resolve issues of environmental contamination like this, and also determine the compensation that should be immediately given to the affected parties. If you see this supposedly fast-track court has, it runs at a snail's pace, and it's just hardly as effective as it was envisaged to be, and it takes more than 10-12 years to resolve any issue. And apart from that, if you look at the functioning of the Loss of Ecology Authority, the manner in which they determine compensation, it's absolutely pittance, and it fails to actually address any of the issues that the farmers or the affected parties are facing. And the third and the most important thing is that the Loss of Ecology Authority is supposed to be thinking in terms of, out of the box, progressive. But what happens is that in the process of determining compensation, it's still looking at only a very selected affected group. What it fails to do is, or what is missed out in the process, is the whole aspect of remediation and restoration of environment. While we are talking about compensating the affected parties immediately, we also have to look at implementing serious measures of restoring the environment, remediating the damage, the damage that's been caused to your groundwater or to the water or agriculture in general. Something to do in long term, because there are generations that's going to come and will be dependent on this kind of environmental resource. And this problem has to be fixed in the long term and not just short term measure.
Right, Shweta, but it looks to me that we are also leaving out the TNPCB here. The Pollution Control is the authority, Pollution Control Board is the authority we all look up to for stopping these things from happening. What do you have to say about the role of the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board handling the entire issue here?
Well, honestly, if you look at the experience of the kind of environmental pollution, contamination that's going around in Tamil Nadu, I seriously doubt if Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board is efficient enough to even look into these kind of issues. One, there is a lack of political will, which we can clearly see, because there are several documented cases, not just from Vellore, but from Cuddalore or Mettur or Kodaikanal for that matter, where we have been able to prove it to the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board that there is illegalities that's being committed on a daily basis. Environmental contamination, dumping of hazardous waste, gas leaks, industrial accidents, industries operating without licenses. And despite all this data that has been presented to the Pollution Control Board, the Pollution Control Board has failed to take any concrete action. What there are two things that the PCB fails to do. One is that stop the industry from committing this kind of violation, and also if there are evidences of this violation, to prosecute the industries. And given the kind of documentation that we have, like for example in SIPCOT Cuddalore, if you see, at least there are 15 out of 30 industrial units that don't have a license to operate, and they're still operating. Some of them did not even have a license to operate as late as 2008. It's 2010. For 2 years they've been operating without valid licenses. There is an effluent collection unit which was set up, which has been running for the last 10 years without license, and several times this has been brought to the notice of Pollution Control Board. So you can imagine, when with this kind of existing data being dished out to the Pollution Control Board by the communities, they're failing to take action. I think there is something seriously missing over here, and it's just not an issue of they're not capable of doing their jobs. I think there's also much more, when it comes to political willingness to do this job, whether they really want to do this job or not.
Right, you're pointing out several violations there, but getting down to solutions, Shweta, what should be the focus now? Where do we start?
I feel it has to be twofold. One is to look at immediate issues of compensation of the affected farmers, because that is something that needs to be resolved at the earliest. But at the same time, I also feel, as I mentioned earlier, that there has to be really very concrete scientific measures that has to be adopted in assessment of the extent of damage, the kind of damage, and also under the polluter's pay principle, making the polluter responsible to remediate the environment, clean up the contamination, and ensure that this kind of problem does not persist for the future. So while compensation is one of the key things right now, at the same time it also has to be remediation and restoration of the environment.
All right, Shweta. So there, Shweta Narayan telling us it's the remediation and restoration of the environment that which is required. Thanks a lot, Shweta Narayan, environmental activist, for joining us. Time to take a short break here on Headlines Now. But on the other side, today is World Mental Health Day, and we have a very special segment for you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.